So we'd been trying to conceive for a year or just over a year, and I'm obviously really desperate for a baby, and so we selected our fertility doctor, and that's who she used. So that's how we ended up at Monash IVF.
Jenna and Michael started their IVF journey 3 years ago. While they have a baby now, it wasn't easy.
You do start the IVF process. Emotionally, it's extremely difficult. And then physically, obviously, number of injections every day. You're on a tight schedule, you know, lots of people all around you falling pregnant, what would seem easily. So it's just, yeah, really emotionally taxing. Sorry.
Jenna's egg retrieval procedure was a success, but just a few hours later, she learned 2 of her eggs had been accidentally destroyed after Monash failed to store them in a protective oil solution.
That was horrific. Like, I couldn't make sense of how it had happened, and that's why I was asking them, like, what exactly has happened? What do you mean? You know, there's been an error, some sort of human error.
The couple complained to Monash IVF, but decided to continue treatment. Then, a week later, another incident.
Fortunately, we were able to create a couple of embryos. We went in for an embryo transfer.
During the transfer, staff couldn't determine whether the embryo had been successfully implanted, leaving Jenna waiting mid-procedure.
All this time, your legs up in stirrups, you know, waiting. Again, just really gives you no confidence in their procedures or their staff.
How many bugs? 1, 2, 3.
Shortly after, the then CEO wrote to the couple, apologising for the mistakes.
The follow-up communication from the CEO saying, yep, we'll provide you a complimentary procedure next time, that's not the point.
We were lucky enough to have a baby out of that, but you know, we want another baby now, and to think that there were eggs that were younger eggs are gone is really tough.
It's errors like these that have the IVF industry under the microscope. This year, Monash IVF admitted to not 1 but 2 serious mix-ups where the wrong embryos were implanted into patients. In one case, leading to a woman giving birth to a stranger's baby.
Not surprised, unfortunately. I mean, it's obviously an extreme and just horrific for those families, a very extreme example, but honestly not surprised.
Following the embryo bungles, Monash IVF's share price dropped dramatically, and the company's CEO, Michael Knapp, resigned. Around 20,000 babies are born from IVF each year in Australia.
This is my pick for the embryo transfer. The embryo's developed quite well.
Oh, it does look good. Everything's looking very symmetrical, no breakdown.
Professor Bill Ledger has been a fertility specialist for 30 years.
I think it's really important to emphasise that the sad occurrences that have hit the press over the last few weeks are very rare.
This clinic in Sydney uses electronic witnessing technology to help reduce the risk of human error.
For example, I've got a patient's embryos here. Let's say her name is Mary Poppins, and I want to move her particular embryo for embryo transfer into a new dish which I think is empty. When I bring this dish here, and I've had a mismatch, you can see that we get both an audible sound as well as a signal showing that we have actually got 2 different patients' embryos there, and it can stop us in our tracks.
As an added layer of protection, patient samples are barcoded electronically, and 2 embryologists witness the process to check the right genetic material is used.
It gives the patients transparency. We can look back at a patient's treatment cycle and see at any one moment where their dish was taken out, how long it was out of the incubator, who inseminated that dish, etc. So you can actually use it for troubleshooting retrospectively as well.
All IVF clinics must have verification processes in place, but it's up to individual clinics to decide what method they use. But that's not the industry's only inconsistency.
So regulation of IVF across Australia is a patchwork. Every state and territory is different, and some are more regulated, others less regulated.
Health lawyer Michael Gorton's review of Victoria's fertility industry in 2018 helped overhaul regulation in the state. Recently, he was asked to help investigate the Queensland system.
I think the history in IVF now suggests, and many in the industry are saying, that the current self-regulatory regime has had its day and is no longer fit for purpose. So whether there is a strengthened, perhaps more independent self-regulating body, that'll be a matter for discussion.
Clinics must self-report any serious mistakes to state regulators and an industry-run accreditation body, but there is no national public reporting of errors. The Monash IVF mistakes only became public because the company is listed on the stock exchange, so it's legally required to inform investors.
I think if there's public reporting of serious incidents, then everyone is aware. So patients will be aware, the public is aware, and it puts further pressure on clinics to make sure that they follow the rules.
Last week, the nation's health ministers met. They announced a rapid review of existing laws, which will include consideration of whether a national regulator and independent accreditation body is needed.
One thing that group would do would be to devise a new code of practice which had standards, and then an inspector would come and check that your clinic was meeting all of those standards.
Monash IVF told 7:30 it also supports setting up a national regulator and that it has commissioned an independent review into recent incidents.
Everyone who works in IVF is aware that the importance of having the right egg, the right sperm, the right embryo is just critical to what we do. The consequence of getting it wrong is a life of 70, 80, 90 years, which was maybe not as it was planned to be.
We joked about that this week. You look at your baby and you think, is that our baby? She looks like us, but how do you know? Honestly, like, if they've done it once, a couple of times before.
We feel we had our miracle despite Monash, not because of Monash.